In the first quarter of 2026, EV sales in America fell by more than a quarter compared to the year before. Almost every major automaker lost money doing it, and yet 3 companies grew. Just a few years ago, nearly every automaker on Earth was racing into the EV market. Ford, GM, Honda, Stellantis, Hyundai, Volkswagen, all of them poured billions into new electric lineups, convinced the future had arrived early. Today, that race has stalled out. Demand has slowed across major regions, price wars have intensified as brands undercut each other just to move inventory. Profit margins that were already thin have turned negative for some of the biggest names in the industry. In the US, specifically, the federal EV tax credit disappeared entirely, pulling thousands of dollars of value out of the average purchase overnight. The damage has been brutal. Some automakers have seen EV sales drop 60 to 70% year over year. Entire electric lineups have been quietly canceled before they even launched. Billions of dollars in losses have been written off in a single earnings call, and it isn't just one company eating that cost. It's spread across nearly every major name in the industry, from legacy Detroit automakers to established Japanese brands that only recently committed to going electric. What makes this moment different from a normal slowdown is the timing. This isn't happening in a vacuum. Incentives that used to soften the price gap between gas and electric vehicles have been pulled away at the exact moment competition intensified and buyers grew more cautious. That combination, less financial cushion, more competitors, and a more skeptical customer, is exactly what turns a slowdown into a shakeout. Yet, while nearly every brand is struggling, 3 companies continue pulling ahead, and not by a little. What goes wrong for everyone else? Before we get into the winners, it's worth understanding exactly what's breaking for everyone else, because the pattern is nearly identical across the industry. Slowing demand. The early wave of EV adopters already bought in. The next wave, mainstream buyers, is far more price sensitive and far less patient with range anxiety or charging headaches. Rising competition. More models, more brands, more options, all fighting over a demand pool that stopped growing as fast as projected. Shrinking profit margins. Automakers built factories and battery plants assuming EV demand would keep climbing. It didn't. And now that fixed cost has to be absorbed somehow. Excess inventory. Dealer lots are full of EVs nobody's buying at sticker price, which forces the next problem. Aggressive price cuts. Discounting protects market share in the short term but guts profitability in the long term. Building EVs is one thing, selling them profitably is another. And right now, most of the industry can only do one of those 2 things. So, who's actually pulling this off? 3 companies, and each one is winning for a completely different reason. Number 3, Hyundai Motor Group. Hyundai and Kia have quietly become 2 of the strongest EV brands outside China, and they've done it without headlines that follow Tesla or BYD. Part of the reason is the hardware underneath the cars. Hyundai's engineering arm has been developing its own power electronics, the motors, inverters, and reduction gear that actually move the vehicle, rather than depending entirely on outside suppliers. That in-house drive system work has already produced multiple output classes, from smaller, budget-friendly setups up to high-performance versions, all built on a shared modular platform. That kind of standardization is exactly what led Toyota and Honda to dominate manufacturing efficiency for decades in the gas era. Hyundai is running the same playbook for EVs. That engineering discipline shows up directly in the lineup. The Ioniq 5, the Ioniq 9, EV3, and EV9 span everything from an affordable compact crossover to a full 3-row family SUV, and all of them share the same fundamental strengths: fast charging, efficient platforms, and pricing that undercuts a lot of the competition without feeling cheap. There's also a quieter shift happening beneath the brand name. Historically, automakers designed a new powertrain for every new model, which is slow and expensive. Hyundai's supplier arm has moved toward a platform approach instead, standardizing the stator, the inverter, and the power module so the same core drive system can scale across an entire range of vehicles. That single change increases how efficiently the system uses available voltage, shrinks the overall footprint of the hardware, and improves power output relative to weight, all without redesigning everything from scratch for each new model. For a company trying to cover multiple price points at once, that kind of modularity is what keeps costs predictable while competitors are still reinventing the wheel car by car. Hyundai isn't winning the hype, it's winning with the fastest charging, competitive pricing, and a growing lineup that actually covers what buyers want. And that's exactly the kind of steady execution that survives a downturn while flashier strategies don't. Number 2, Tesla. Despite rising competition, repeated price cuts, and a genuinely rough news cycle around recalls and controversy, Tesla remains one of the most profitable EV manufacturers on the planet. And the sales numbers back that up in a way that surprises a lot of people. In the first quarter of 2026, while most of the industry watched EV sales collapse by 60 to 70%, the Model Y moved in the opposite direction. At one point, roughly 1 out of every 3 EVs sold in the United States was a Model Y. 1 out of 3. That single model outsold entire competing brands' full lineups combined. 3 things explain it. First, the refreshed Model Y is simply a better car than the version it replaced. Quieter, better built, more refined inside, finally living up to its price tag. Second, the supercharger network remains the single biggest infrastructure advantage in the EV world. While rival owners still worry about whether a charger will work, Tesla owners plug in, and it just does. And now Tesla is even opening that network to other brands' vehicles through adapters, monetizing the very infrastructure that used to be a private mode. Third, scale. Tesla can build the Model Y at a lower cost per unit than almost anyone else on the market, which means it can cut prices and stack incentives in ways smaller automakers simply can't afford to match. There's a brand trust angle here too, and it cuts against the negative headlines. In a market where buyers are watching competitors cancel programs and take billion-dollar write-downs, a company that never wavered from its core lineup starts to look like the stable choice rather than the risky one. Tesla didn't chase every segment. It doubled down on the Model Y and Model 3 as its volume drivers and let everything else stay secondary. And that focus is exactly what's paying off while less disciplined competitors spread themselves too thin. And in its software ecosystem, its manufacturing efficiency and the sheer dominance of the Model Y and Tesla still sets the benchmark the rest of the industry is chasing. If you want to see exactly how this rivalry between the world's biggest EV makers keeps playing out, subscribe now because the next brand on this list is the one actually rewriting the rulebook. Number 1, BYD. No company has changed the EV market faster than BYD. The core of its vertical integration taken further than almost any other automaker in history. While most manufacturers, Tesla included, still buy critical components from outside suppliers, BYD builds its own batteries, its own chips, its own motors, and its own drivetrains in-house. It even runs its own car carrier shipping fleet to move vehicles internationally instead of relying entirely on third-party freight. That level of control compounds. Producing your own batteries and semiconductors instead of buying them from someone else strips out a huge chunk of cost that every automaker is still paying. It's the same reason BYD can sell an entry-level EV for a fraction of what competitors charge while still turning a profit. BYD's global expansion is the other half of the story. It's not just exporting cars, it's building factories directly inside the markets it enters, from Southeast Asia to Latin America to parts of Europe, embedding itself into local economies rather than just shipping product in from China. That strategy is putting real pressure on legacy automakers in regions they used to treat as safe territory. Its battery technology reinforces all of it. BYD's in-house lithium iron phosphate cell was designed specifically to be safer and more thermally stable than conventional chemistries, without giving up meaningful range. That safety margin matters to everyday buyers, but it also matters to the balance sheet. Fewer failures, fewer recalls, and a battery that's cheaper to produce at scale because BYD isn't paying someone else's margin on top of it. The lineup built on top of that foundation now spans compact hatchbacks, family SUVs, performance sedans, and plug-in hybrids, which means BYD isn't relying on a single flagship model the way some competitors are. If one segment softens, the rest of the lineup keeps the company moving. BYD's growing lineup, its in-house supply chain, and its aggressive global footprint continue putting pressure on nearly every major automaker on Earth. And unlike most of the industry, that pressure keeps building instead of easing. What these 3 brands do differently. Hyundai, Tesla, and BYD are chasing very different strategies. One leans on engineering and discipline and value. One leans on software and infrastructure. One leans on vertical integration and scale. But underneath those differences, all 3 share the same core strengths. Efficient production that keeps costs under control instead of ballooning out of proportion. Competitive pricing that actually reflects what mainstream buyers are willing to pay right now, not what buyers were willing to pay 3 years ago. Strong technology, whether that's Hyundai's drive systems, Tesla's software stack, or BYD's battery chemistry. Broad product lineups that cover multiple price points instead of betting everything on one flagship model. Continuous innovation that doesn't stop the moment a model launches. That combination, discipline on cost, discipline on pricing, and constant improvement is exactly what's letting these brands outperform an industry that's otherwise shrinking around them. Who could be next? None of this means the door is closed for everyone else. Several automakers are investing heavily to close the gap that's opening up. Rivian is refining its production process and expanding its lineup beyond its original trucks and SUVs. XPeng and Xiaomi are pushing hard on software and smart vehicle tech inside China's brutal competitive market before expanding outward. Lucid continues betting on range and performance at the luxury end, hoping efficiency wins out over volume. All of them have ambitious plans, but whether they can consistently compete with today's market leaders, brands that have already proven they can sell profitably in a market that's pushing everyone else, remains to be seen. The gap they're chasing isn't just about having a good car. It's about having the cost structure, the charging network, or the manufacturing scale to back the car up once the discounting starts. Plenty of automakers can build something exciting for a single model. Very few can do it profitably, while the rest of the market is cutting prices just to stay afloat. Here's the big picture. The EV market isn't dying. It's separating winners from everyone else, and it's doing it fast. Hyundai is winning through engineering and value. Tesla is winning through infrastructure and scale. BYD is winning through vertical integration and sheer speed of expansion. Everyone else is still figuring out how to sell EVs without losing money on every single one. So here's the question worth sitting with. Does one of these three strategies eventually win outright? Or does the market stay split between engineering, ecosystem, and scale indefinitely? Drop your take in the comments. And if you want to keep following where this goes, subscribe because the story is only getting more interesting from here.